Liberty Nation with Tim Donner.
Well, it has not received nearly as much coverage as it should because it is one of the major international political stories of our time. It took more than 3 years for reluctant politicians to implement the clearly expressed will of voters in England, but when one more election fully and finally settled the issue in December, the result was overwhelming. Brexit is England's 21st century declaration of independence from the iron grip of the European Union. So it's been 2 months since the landslide victory of Boris Johnson and the Conservatives, which sealed Brexit with a kiss, so to speak, and 3 weeks since Britain officially withdrew from the EU. And joining us now to analyze how this historic turn of events is going down in jolly old England is our man on the ground in the UK, LibertyNation.com, managing editor Mark Angelides. Are you still in a state of euphoria over it, Mark?
Well, hi, Tim. Thanks for having me. Yeah, well, everybody's pretty excited about what the future is going to hold. It's very much a new dawn and a new day here in Britain.
There was a temptation, of course, to bring you on when Brexit was finally consummated, but I wanted to wait till the finality of it has sunk in for a while to get a gauge on just how this seminal moment in British history is going down with the people now that the reality of it has settled in for a time. Now, looking at Brexit from across the pond here, this looks like Trump being elected president. This looks like Britain reasserting its independence, reasserting its sovereignty, reasserting its distinct heritage. This looks like a really big deal. How about over there?
Yeah, I mean it's a huge deal over here. It's a complete reshaping of the entire political landscape, and with that comes a reshaping of the entire cultural landscape too. And I think the country is really just reveling in the possibility that's ahead for it. Although this won't entirely be realized until the end of this year, the end of 2020, once the transition period's over. And the UK is officially all ties cut, and we're either operating on some kind of trade arrangement with the EU or we're working on World Trade Organization rules. So the impacts won't really be felt. But in terms of the attitude, I think everything's feeling incredibly sunny over here. People almost seem relieved. It's as though a great weight's been lifted.
Now, Mark, I'll never forget waking up after the 2016 election on November 9th and feeling like everything had changed, almost like we were in a different country. And the left has said the same thing from the opposite angle. Did you get any of that same sense when you woke up the morning after the December 12th election or the morning of February 1st when the country had regained its full independence?
Well, on the morning after the December 12th election, not at all, because although Boris had campaigned on we're getting Brexit done and we're leaving come hell or high water, although he'd campaigned on that and promised that, we've had 3 years since the actual vote was taken. So one more promise was just one more promise and wasn't really, it wasn't anything tangible. It wasn't something you could grip hold of. But on the morning of February 1st, absolutely. It was. It now seems to myself and many others that from what we do from now on, it's all for us. It's not. We can't look to blame the machinations of the European Union anymore. Now it's all about what we can do together as a country.
Now, in the category of how big is this Brexit? Compare for us the magnitude of Brexit to other seminal or pivotal events in the history of modern England, or even ancient England, though I will not require you to go all the way back to William the Conqueror in 1066.
Well, anything before 1066, and we're missing all the best bits. It's a country coming out from under a grip of servitude, as far as many of us see it over here. We've been... my entire life, from when I was born, was under the EU. And for those who think the EU is and was a wonderful thing, that they feel very saddened by that. But for those of us, and Brexit is a young movement, despite what the papers would have you believe that it's all old, half-retired colonels or something.
Now, one of the biggest assets and liabilities at the same time of independence is England's newfound necessity to make bilateral trade deals directly country to country, starting from scratch with the EU, which I'm sure will be fraught with peril, the US, which at least on paper should be relatively easy, and the rest of the world. Now, the sky is falling, crowd. The Remainers who said the country would collapse if you approved Brexit and it went through. They predictably say this need for bilateral deals now will be a disaster, while the free market types say it opens a world of untold opportunity.
The reality here, Tim, is that the free market types really do have the right to this, because the people who say that you have to renegotiate trade deals or negotiate trade deals, in fact, from the very start, they're living in the past. You're not building things from nothing. You're building from a base of there are already trade arrangements, and trade is always beneficial. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it.
Mark, thank you for your wisdom as always, and for getting us a sense of what's going on the ground in England at this very historic time. Thanks for joining us.
A pleasure.
Mark Angelides, managing editor of LibertyNation.com.